gentlemen, it's your boy Luke here for our DFS value picks for this week's WGC Dell Match play. In this video, we're going to cover my top 6 plays price $7,500 and below for GPP contests to help you guys save some salary, get a little bit of leverage on the field with ownership, and help take down some of those large field contests. Of course, the hardest part to the GPPs can be some of those plays down low, but last week we had quite a few come through. Davis Riley was by far our best value play of the week. We had Stuart Sink who went off as well, and a few other in the top 10 as well. So we hit on them here in the video and looking to build on that here for this week as well. And in the match play, a little bit more to consider. It's not really a per the numbers type of week. We have to consider match play records, narratives, and of course the good old matchups with the bracket. So a lot to get into. Let's go ahead and start right on off with our value picks for this week. Alright guys, on the screen you can see our projections for this week, and the first value pick we're going to target is at $7,500, and that is Patrick Reed, believe it or not. Not somebody we've been targeting here on the channel. In fact, he's been a fade for us most of the time, but somebody that I do have a little bit of belief behind this week, especially given that he made his cut the last time out, and somebody who historically has been great in this format. He's got the putting we're looking for, can get streaky with that approach play, which is something that we certainly need for match play format. And him coming in super low owned, I think he's actually a little bit higher priced than he should be as well. He could be a low owned but super high upside play that I'm willing to go to. I mean, Patrick Reed, if he can come in, find some semblance of form with those irons, is alive to win this golf tournament. So in terms of his group, he is in a tough group here. He has Jon Rahm in his group, and anytime you're matched with the world #1, going to be a tough prospect. Jon Rahm eats up more than 40% of the win equity in that group, which leaves guys like Patrick Reed are solid plays at just 23.5 in terms of a group win rate. So that's why he's going to be low owned. It's also why he's priced down here at $7,500. But if he's able to squeak through during the group stage, I really like that upside. The course history, of course, if you take a look at his history at this event, it's kind of been up and down for somebody like a Patrick Reed. You see he's a 28th, a 24th, so at least got a few points there during the group stage. At 9th place in 2018 was pretty solid, but then the lower end of that volatility, right, 51st. It probably means he got like half a point or 1 point during that event. So most years he's pretty solid here, but in other years he has had a dud performance. So he's a high upside, also high risk play, but at $7,500, especially for some of these larger field contests where we're looking to try and beat 20, 30,000 other people, I definitely think he's worth a few looks. Next up, we're going to be going to Corey Conners at $7,300. His last time out got completely walloped by the field, went 0 for 3. Not what we're looking for at all from the Canadian, but in general has the ball striking we're looking for, and of late has started to strike it like the old Corey Conners. The putter had really come around for him during the fall swing, but unfortunately, the real strength of his game, that ball striking, abandoned him, inexplicably. When one thing came around, the other thing disappeared. But of late, he's reverted back to the normal Corey Conners that we come to love, which is great off the tee, one of the best approach players in the world, and also relatively stout around the green. Of course, the main issue is that putter. When it comes to match play, sometimes you can get away with it. I mean, we've seen guys like Sergio Garcia have a ton of success at this event over the years, and he is historically one of the worst putters of all time. So if he can fit that same type of mold, also in a relatively weak field, so you can see he's in group number 10. A few other people in group 10, you have Alex Noren in group 10. You also have Louis Oosthuizen and Paul Casey. So the real elite option there is Louis Oosthuizen, who does have a really solid match play record of his own. But if he's able to bounce off some of those favorites there, a lower owned, really cheap option down low that I also, much like a Patrick Reed, I expect to have quite a bit of upside. Next up, we're going to go to Bubba Watson at $7,200, so a little bit cheaper there. He has a great match play record, a ton of experience in this format at 11-7-3. He's also somebody coming in with sneaky good form. He did miss his cut the last time out, but that was by 1 stroke, and a few other made cuts over the last 3 or 4 events. So if we take a look specifically, again, the missed cut at the Valspar was by 1 stroke. 68th at the Players, he did miss the cut at the Genesis, but overall, he's been playing some decent golf, because if we take a look at the shots gained metrics, they do bear that out. He's gaining off the tee, he's slightly losing on approach, which we can give him a little bit of leeway there for, right? He's a slight loser there, could very well turn that around. Bubba Watson's always a very solid ball striker, and of course the loser with the putter. That's something that's going to be a constant for Bubba Watson, but for whatever reason at match play, he's a much better putter. Maybe it's because he knows he actually has to make these putts and he can't afford to just go ahead and dial them up to the hole, particularly if the other player has already gotten it in before him. You see him putting with a different level of speed, which last year was advantageous. He ended up having a really solid performance. In fact, let's see where he finished. I believe he finished in the top 10. He did. He finished 9th place there. He's won this event before. He's also had another top 10 at this event before. So Bubba Watson, somebody who's had a ton of success at this type of format in the past, somebody that might see more of that success to come. So I do like him at that price tag, a high upside play, much like a Patrick Reed that also does bring a lot of risk to the table. But for these large field GPPs, that is risk that I'm willing to inherit. Next up, let's go to our bottom 3 value plays, which are going to be headlined first off by Justin Rose at $6,900. So these 3 are in the $6,000 range. The other 3 were in that $7,000 range. In general, Justin Rose, another good putter, somebody who's had success in match play in the past, has had plenty of experience also on the international front. Take a look at the course history. He hasn't been all that insane here, right? Over the last 4 or 5 years, has really only finished 9th place. He did finish 28th all the way back there in 2016. But when he's been here, at least he's played decent, right? So it's not like he's played here only once over the last 5 years and has like a 50th place finish. At the very least, took advantage when he showed up. Take a look at the recent form metrics for somebody like Justin Rose. So he's up here at $6,900. He's gaining off the tee, which is actually a little bit surprising there. The approach play and the around the green play hasn't been all that sturdy, but gaining with the putter like you'd expect. And towards the early part of 2021, he was getting closer to half a stroke putting per round, so could see a little bit of improvement there. And if he gets back to gaining with the approach play, which is the real X factor for Justin Rose, when he shows up with that approach play, that's when he contends and potentially takes home tournaments. I love the putter. I love the experience. I love the fact that he's a wily veteran. That should serve him really well this type of format. Down low at $6,900, I think you could do a whole lot worse. So I prefer him over guys like Keegan Bradley, who of course are in that same group, which group number 11, it's not weak by any means, right? You have Keegan and Justin Rose down there, but up top you have Adam Scott and Jordan Spieth. It's more than winnable though, especially for Justin Rose. If he can bring those irons to the table, I really like his chances of springing the upset. Now, lastly, our last 2 picks. First up, we're going to have Ian Poulter. He's another veteran on this list, somebody who's been very solid in the match play format. They're at a 9-3 record. Of late, he hasn't really been his best self. You can see he's number 41 in the field in terms of recent form ranking, but the course history has been immaculate. I mean, last year did not have his best stuff, but still finished in the top 10, was 17th the year before that, and that would be an off year for Ian Poulter, and then 5th the year before that. We've seen it at the Ryder Cup. This kid is an absolute stud when you put him in this format. He's got the fiery personality, he's got the hot putter, and even the approach play can be really good with Ian Poulter when he has his best stuff. So very similar to Justin Rose, coming in with very similar form to somebody like Justin Rose. And in group number 5, he is the weakest of the bunch. You have guys like Tommy Fleetwood there, Matt Fitzpatrick, also Scotty Scheffler. So some of the better players in the field. So not a lot of people are going to go to Ian Poulter, even though he has this elite course history, just because of the guys in his same group. And I definitely think it's still possible he wins. I'm at a 25.3% chance of winning, which is actually higher than some of those counterparts, which are priced higher than him. A lot of other people in the industry are also projecting him for higher win percentages. Just based on skill set, based on what I'm looking for, particularly that match play record, I definitely think he's being a little bit slept on there. So one of my favorite value plays of the week. Again, he's got the skill set, the course history that we're looking for. Also a very affordable price tag at just $6,600. And now lastly, anytime I'm playing Cameron Tringale, that should put up red flags. But it's his first time playing match play. He's $6,500. Electric putter, much like an Ian Poulter, can get that thing running like no one else in the field. Very good with wedge play, very solid with some of those longer irons as well. That's why Cameron Tringale can get away with being one of the shorter hitters on tour, yet still compete at some of these longer golf courses. Maybe he's the new version of Ian Poulter, right? He's kind of got that fiery personality to him too. I mean, when Cameron Tringale is in contention, he's really animated, he's riling up the crowd. I have a feeling he's really going to enjoy this format, or maybe he's been waiting to play in this format for quite some time. I mean, he is a veteran, but just based on official World Golf Ranking, was never able to qualify. But now that he's been so consistent, has been itching so close to getting that first ever win, he finally qualifies for this type of event. And it would just be so fitting for somebody like Cameron Tringale to get his first ever win at the match play. that I think it might actually end up happening. I've placed an outright bet on Cameron Tringale. Again, from the skill set perspective, it's a short golf course that plays right into what we're looking for with Tringale. He's got the approach play, the wedge play we're looking for. The putter's electric over here on Bermuda grass. Just a really high upside play that I think could potentially win at $6,500. That is all I've got for this week's value picks. Before you go on and get out of here, let me know down in the comments what your favorite value on the board is. That'll be somebody priced $7,500 and below, so make sure they're priced in reasonable range there, but go ahead and let me know who your favorite on the board is. Doesn't have to be somebody I mentioned, could be completely off my radar, but make sure to go ahead and comment that. Also, we're going to have the rest of the content dropping throughout the week. Our DFS core picks are already up on the channel. Same thing with our course breakdown. So if you haven't seen those already and you're looking for them, check out the link in the description. You'll have you covered. Also, make sure to like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that way you don't miss any of the content to drop in the future. We're going to have our weekly DFS live stream. That'll be Tuesday night, so tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be covering the weather, my player pool, any of your live questions, ownership, all that sort of fun stuff, so look forward to that. We'll also have our fades and sleepers, showdown content if they have showdown slates. I'm not sure if they're going to do that this weekend. We'll have to see. Most likely not. And we'll also have prize picks content for the Corrales Putakania Championship and maybe a bonus piece of content for the Corrales Putakania on Wednesday. So again, make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Good luck with all of your contests for this week. Starts on Wednesday, so make sure you get your lineups in early. And let's get this cash.